right. Today we're going to talk about 3 biggest mistakes you make for not acknowledging your pattern. First, I'm going to show you what it leads to. And what is a pattern? A pattern is something that you keep happening in your life that you don't maybe know it's happening, but it keeps repeating itself. It keeps repeating itself over and over. It's kind of like reliving your life over and over again. And it seems to happen no matter what many relationships you're with. It's still the same type of relationship still showing up. It's just different names and different faces. All right, so the very first thing about the mistakes that we do is when we do not acknowledge our patterns, what it does is leads to hopelessness. What it does, it leads us to having addiction, dysfunctional habits. Addiction, dysfunctional habits leads us to people please maybe. That's a habit. Being unfaithful, that's a habit. Hanging out with the wrong crowd, that's a habit. Picking the wrong guy, the wrong woman, that's a habit. Being around somebody that's very toxic, dysfunctional, that's a habit. Because we're not acknowledging the pattern, even though we see it, we kind of not like, I know this is who I am, but we're not fully acknowledging it. So the pattern keeps repeating itself, and it does lead us to act out. Number 2, what it does to one of these mistakes when we don't connect with our patterns, it also leads us to loneliness and isolation. Loneliness and isolation. The reason why we're lonely and we're isolated is we're afraid of being exposed because of all the stuff that we did, right? That we're doing based on hiding our patterns, based on not acknowledging our pattern. As a matter of fact, even if you do acknowledge your pattern, if you don't know what to do, it leads to hopelessness. And it also still leads to the addiction of dysfunction habits, right? Or behavior. So the last thing it does, it leads us to be condemning ourselves and self-doubt. So this, again, not acknowledging your pattern leads you to hopelessness, addiction. It leads you to loneliness and isolation. It also leads you to condemning yourself and doubting yourself. And then we make statements like, all good men are taken, all the good women are taken, or you start making excuses for what is happening in your life by blaming or generalizing what's going on. So the first thing, there's 3 things that I want you to start working on. Number 1 is being aware. And discovering your authentic self, that's what we do. We create an awareness. You really get to know you. You get to know your patterns. But your being aware is key, because you being aware of your pattern, it usually gets you a lot of hope. I know when people see their pattern, the first thing they do is they get depressed, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this. But the second thing is hope. Because if you have a choice, because you always have a choice, right? You could choose to keep that pattern going, or you could choose not to do it. So being aware is key. Now, being aware is not just a good thing. Being aware of the bad, the good, and the ugly. Being aware of the pain. And the second thing is to be honest. Being honest is key, because you got to be honest with who you are. I talked about being honest with the mask that you're wearing, being honest with the pain that you're having, the justification, the failures that you're having, the insecurity that you're feeling, versus trying to act like everything is okay. That will keep the pattern going. So being honest about your self-doubt, being honest about the way you are condemning yourself, being honest. And that's really key to start seeing the truth within your patterns. And the last thing is be connected. Be connected to a community. I don't know how many times you've heard me say that, but it's so true to get connected. So you'll discover that you're not by yourself. You're not alone. There's many other people that struggles with what you're struggling with. There's many other people that have self-doubt. I have self-doubt. I have condemning thoughts. But the difference is I do know what to do with it. That doesn't mean it goes away. You know, it's one thing to acknowledge your pattern, and it's another thing to acknowledge it and break them and know how to do it. And that's what I teach in Pattern Breaking a workshop, which is Discovering Your Authentic Self, which is what we go through. But anyways, that's what I wanted to share with you guys. Just 3 things really quickly. Be aware. So that means be real. Know what's going on with you. Admit what's happening with you. 2, be honest. Honest to be able to talk about it. Honest to be able to see yourself condemning thoughts. And number 3, be connected to a community. Remember, you're not alone. Remember, you're not alone. All right? If you want to be a part of this Discovering Your Authentic Self coaching, you'll hear me talk about it all the time. So what I would put in there, put me. If you're ready to talk and ready to start breaking these patterns. Thank you so much for watching, and that would be all.